Now here is exercise for you to extend the list to do command, where you are going to list the commands by IDs. You are going to capture IDs if user has provided either multiple IDs -ID. You are going to get the to-do list by IDs and listing it out as part of the rest of the format. Implement getting the list by IDs and then check back my video for the solution. Let's implement getting the to do by ID in the list command. So in the list, the user would be passing IDs -ID and he'll be giving a set of IDs, comma separated value or multiple ID values. So either of the cases, we have to show a list of IDs that he has been provided. If any task ID is invalid, then don't show anything. Show only valid to-dos. So let's see how that can be implemented. First of all, we are going to implement a single ID and then we'll make multiple IDs. So let's take ID in the form of long. So ID option, in the options we are going to, let's provide the required fields -ID description. So we got the ID. Once we get the ID, what we are supposed to do, instead of doing all this logic here, whether he has passed the completed or the status, any of these checks, ID takes the preference. So let's start that one as a first. So if you pass any of the IDs is null, then we are going to continue. Else we'll be looking at the other properties. So if user has passed ID, we are going to get that one to do. Find by ID and we'll get ID and it will be returning a optional to do. So let's change the name to do. If to do is present, then we are going to add it to our list, which is a to do list. Let initialize to do with new empty array of list. So now add to do list dot add of to do dot get. Else we'll be showing a message and we are exiting out as well. As part of the exit, we can take the decision depending whatever it is required. Here, successfully we executed the to do command. That's the reason we don't need to show anything because we are showing no tasks found. Sometimes if it requires, if any parameter due to the logic, if anything is missed or some exception occurred, in that case we can show one as the command failed. In this case, command is successfully executed, so I'm writing it. No tasks found. Otherwise, what we can do is we can leave this for here. Anyway, that means we have this one. If the to-do list is null, then we are showing it. Right now it is not null. So what we need to do is and to-do list dot size. Even if the size is greater than 0, then it's 1. Else we'll show no tasks to display. In our case, to-do list is always initialized and we need to check null check also because we are been resetting every place like this. Whatever the result that we are coming, we're not adding it but directly assigning to the variable. So let's keep the null check also. Now let's test this ID functionality. So I will say -ID is equals to 1. Before we run the application, let's correct this logic. If ID is not null, then only we are going to check by IDs whether it's available or not. Now let's use ID and short together, and let's pass ID as 1 and execute the program. Okay, we have one tasks with ID as 1. So that's what it is printed. Yeah. Now let's implement if user passes more than one ID. So we already aware of it, how to capture more than one value that is been handled at add command using messages. So just mention an array of the data type which you would like to receive it. So automatically Picocli library ensures that it captures multiple values. Here we just need to define array of long, then we can capture multiple IDs. And this time let's use another feature to capture multiple values. And here all the values that we are getting it for the ID is long, which means numbers. So this would be perfect candidate for it. So what I'm saying it is, here let's define an array, but here instead of reading it -ID, we are going to get comma separated IDs. So let's see how it can be implemented. Use split, which is by default nothing. So we add comma here. So if any ID with commas has been passed, it will be captured over here. So as it has been changed to the long array, let's change the existing code as well. And very much similar to the earlier ones. Object is not null, then to-do list is equals to to-do service dot find by IDs arrays as a list of ID. So now let's pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and run the program. And we're expecting 5 tasks to be displayed. Okay, here it says no tasks to display. Okay. Let's execute the program and we'll check whether we are going to get all 5 tasks or not. You see it, we got all 5 tasks with comma separated values. So far we have learned how to add a command and how to list the command with different varieties, with different sets of options like IDs, status, and all.